I thought telling the truth would save me. Instead, it signed my death warrant. One email, one line to HR, reporting my boss for unethical behavior. I believed in the system. I believed honesty mattered. I believed someone would listen. But Nexport Systems doesn't protect the truth. It protects power. 3 weeks after my report, Mark was still smiling in meetings, while my projects quietly disappeared. HR stopped replying. My badge stopped working in certain areas. Then, during a Friday meeting, I saw a spreadsheet open on his laptop, a list of roles under review. My name was there. That's when it hit me. HR wasn't protecting. They were protecting him. Would you risk your career to expose the truth? Would you keep quiet to survive? Or fight back and lose everything? Because once you report your boss, you stop being an employee. You become a target. Mark called me in 2 days later. The room smelled like burnt coffee and silence. Lena smiled politely and said, "We take every report seriously." But her voice was hollow, every word rehearsed. She asked if I could recall any misinterpretations. That word, misinterpretations, hit harder than an accusation. I listed everything. The fake contractors, the missing invoices, the altered budgets. She nodded without looking up. Behind her, the Nexport slogan glowed on the wall. Integrity through innovation. I almost laughed at the irony. By Monday, my access card failed. System glitch, it said. But my gut told me otherwise. My desk phone vanished overnight. My emails bounced back undeliverable. Then Mark walked past, whistling, pretending not to note. "Everything okay, Ava?" he asked. I forced a smile. "Just a glitch." He leaned in and whispered, "Then stop pressing buttons. You don't understand." His words cut like glass, smooth, sharp, and deliberate. That night, I told Eric everything. He listened quietly, fingers tracing the rim of his glass. "Maybe it's time to let it go," he said softly. "You can't fight a company that big." I shook my head. "I can't unsee what I saw." He reached for my hand, eyes tired but kind. "Then be smart. Don't let them destroy you trying to save everyone else." I didn't answer, but deep down, I knew he was right. I just didn't know how to stop. The next morning, my ID light turned red at the security gate. The guard looked apologetic. "Sorry, Ava. It says inactive." Through the glass doors, I saw Mark laughing with Lena in the lobby, coffee in hand. She noticed me and quickly looked away. That was the moment I understood. The report wasn't justice. It was a death sentence wrapped in policy. And the system I trusted had already chosen its side. They didn't fire me right away. That would have been too obvious. They started small. One project reassigned, one meeting accidentally. Left off my calendar, one friendly colleague suddenly too busy to talk. When I asked HR, Lena smiled politely and said, "We just restructuring." But I saw it clearly. They were isolating me piece by piece. Then one morning, I found a note under my keyboard. 4 words written in black marker. "Stop digging or else." The message was simple. I wasn't supposed to uncover the truth. I was supposed to disappear quietly. I went straight to HR with the note. Lena barely looked up from her laptop. "Do you have proof who left it?" she asked. "No," I said, "but it was on my desk." She sighed, typing slowly. "We'll open an inquiry." I asked to see the report from my original complaint. Her fingers froze. "That information is internal." That's when I realized. OR wasn't investigating him. They were investigating me. Later that week, Daniel stopped by my desk. His voice barely a whisper. "We're auditing your projects," he said. "Mark told it to pull your emails." I froze. "Why?" "They think you leaked client data." It didn't matter that it wasn't true. At Nexport, rumors work faster than evidence. He slid a small flash drive into my hand. "Back up everything before they wipe it. His eyes darted around nervously before he walked away. It was the first time someone had helped me, and the last time he dared to talk to me at work. That night, I told Eric what happened. He stared at the wall for a long time before speaking. "Ava, this is getting dangerous," he said quietly. "You're up against people who can ruin you with one email." I looked at him. "If I stop now, then they win." He sighed and took my hand. "Then protect yourself. Document everything." So I did. Every email, every call, every message that vanished from my inbox. It became my nightly ritual, collecting proof of my own erasure. Friday, HR meeting. The email's subject line read, "Performance review discussion." When I walked in, Mark was already there, leaning back in his chair, confident, calm. Lena sat beside him, eyes on her notes. "This isn't about performance," I said. Mark smiled faintly. "Everything is about performance." He slid a folder across the table. Screenshots, misquoted messages, timelines twisted against me. I realized they weren't warning me. They were building a case. And by the time I left that room, my fate was already sealed. When I came back to work, my name was gone from the project database. The folders I'd created, the reports I'd written, all deleted. It called it routine cleanup. My desk still had my nameplate, but somehow even that felt temporary. I watched Mark whispering with another manager across the hall. They both looked my way and laughed. That sound echoed louder than any HR memo. I wasn't just being punished anymore. I was being erased. Lunch breaks became unbearable. People stopped making room at the table. Conversations ended the moment I arrived. Even the cafeteria cashier looked away when I spoke. I caught Lena stepping into the elevator once. She turned her face toward the wall until the doors closed. Daniel messaged me quietly. "They're monitoring your laptop." The words sank like stones in my stomach. Every keystroke felt like it was being watched. Every silence felt intentional. That night I stayed late at the office. If they were watching me, I wanted to know how close they were. I printed a few files from the internal server, ones I shouldn't have been able to access. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. An anonymous message. "We know what you're doing." My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I turned off my phone and backed up everything to Daniel's flash drive. For the first time, I realized I was no longer an employee. I was evidence waiting to be deleted. When I got home, Eric was waiting. He asked why I kept bringing work home, why I couldn't just walk away. I told him walking away meant letting them win. He looked at me with tired eyes and said, "Then who's going to save you when they fight back?" For a moment, I had no answer. The truth is, I didn't want to be saved. I wanted to be believed. The next morning, my badge still worked. But my desk didn't exist anymore. An intern sat where I used to sit. My belongings were gone. When I asked HR, Lena said, "We thought you'd been reassigned." Her voice was calm, her eyes cold. That's when I finally understood. They were trying to fire me. They were trying to erase the fact I had ever been there. I thought I was the only one. Then I found the archive, hidden deep inside the HR drive, mislabeled as employee wellness reports. They weren't wellness reports. They were case files, dozens of complaints, every one of them marked resolved. Every whistleblower terminated within months. My chest tightened as I scrolled through the names. Different departments, different years, same pattern. They didn't silence me because I was wrong. They silenced me because I was right. I went to Daniel. He was pale when I showed him the files. "They track everyone who reports," he whispered. "Every time someone complains, HR flags them for culture risk." I stared at him, numb. "They reward silence." He nodded. "And they bonus the managers who keep things quiet." The truth was so big, it didn't fit in my mind. It wasn't about Mark anymore. It was the whole system, built to destroy anyone who questioned it. That night, I couldn't sleep. The faces of all those terminated employees haunted me. Their records ended abruptly. No farewell emails, no LinkedIn updates, just silence. Eric tried to comfort me, but I couldn't hear him. I realized what I had to do. If Nexport wanted to bury the truth, I would dig it up for everyone to see. The next day, I used Daniel's access credentials to pull deeper records. I found internal memos, strategic containment plans for employee complaints. One name appeared over and over: Mark Danner. He wasn't just protected. He was promoted for maintaining internal stability. I realized HR didn't report to ethics. They reported to him. The corruption was vertical, and I was climbing it blind. By midnight, I had copied everything: the emails, the bonuses, the cover-ups. But as I ejected the flash drive, the lights flickered. Security was walking the floor. I slipped the drive into my sleeve and shut down my monitor. My pulse thundered in my ears. If they caught me, it was over. I walked toward the elevator, pretending to yawn. Behind me, the monitor flickered back on, and a single line appeared: unauthorized access detected. I sat in my car outside Nexport headquarters, engine off, rain tapping against the windshield. In my pocket, the flash drive with everything: the memos, the bonuses, the names. My hands shook as I thought of what would happen once it was out there. They'd deny everything. They'd call me unstable. But the truth was heavier than fear, and I couldn't carry it alone anymore. I opened my laptop and connected to a secure site. The loading bar crawled upward. Once it hit 100%, I whispered to myself, "It's done." I didn't know it yet, but that click just lit the fuse. The next morning, the leak hit the internet like wildfire. Hundreds of internal emails, payoff records, retaliation lists. It was everywhere. News sites, social feeds, inboxes. By 9:00 a.m., security was locking down the building. By 9:15, Mark was storming into HR. By 9:30, my phone started buzzing with unknown numbers. I had crossed the point of no return, and yet for the first time in months, I felt free. By noon, the story had gone viral. News anchors said my name. My email inbox exploded. Some messages calling me a hero, others calling me a liar. Daniel texted me, "They know it was you. Delete everything." But I didn't. I printed it all. Every file. Every document. If they were going to come after me, they'd have to do it in daylight. By evening, they started spinning the story. Press releases calling the leak a breach of data ethics. An anonymous insider claiming I had falsified evidence. Mark appeared on an internal live stream, calling it a misunderstanding caused by misinformation. I watched his perfect smile through the screen and felt something inside me harden. They wanted to break my credibility, but I had one thing they didn't: the truth and proof to back it. At midnight, I met Daniel in a parking garage. He looked terrified. "They're coming for both of us," he said. "I don't care," I told him. "I won't hide." He handed me a sealed envelope. "This is the backup. If anything happens, release it." I looked at him, speechless. For a second, the world was completely still. Two people standing in the dark, holding the truth in their hands. And then the sound of approaching footsteps broke the silence. We ran. By morning, Nexport had their statement ready. They called me a disgruntled former employee accused of serious professional misconduct. Every news outlet picked it up. My photo was everywhere. LinkedIn screenshots, office ID cards, social media posts twisted into proof of guilt. The same people who'd once smiled at me now posted their loyalty to the company. The same HR team that promised protection now called me a threat. It wasn't just a smear campaign. It was character assassination. Signed, sealed, and sponsored by Nexport Systems. By noon, reporters were calling non-stop. Neighbors stared. Friends stopped answering texts. Eric tried to calm me down, but I could see the fear in his eyes. "They're destroying us," I said. He didn't deny it. He just whispered, "You've already won, Ava. You made them scared enough to fight dirty." But I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I felt like I was disappearing all over again, this time in front of the entire world. Nexport's lawyers filed a lawsuit. Breach of confidentiality, theft of company property, defamation. Every line crafted to bury me under legal debt. My accounts froze. My attorney warned me they'd drag it out for years. Daniel vanished. His email deactivated. His apartment emptied. When I called his number, it said, "This line has been disconnected." For the first time, I wondered if he'd been silenced or if he'd run. A week later, Nexport held a press conference. Mark stood on stage, polished and perfect, claiming the company had zero tolerance for unethical behavior. He didn't blink. I watched from my laptop, shaking. Every sentence was a lie, but every camera believed him. In that moment, I finally understood how powerful the narrative was. The truth wasn't enough anymore, not unless someone forced them to listen. Then came the worst blow. My employer's insurance dropped me. My bank flagged my account as under investigation. My email inbox filled with death threats. Someone posted my home address online. For days, I didn't leave the apartment. Eric begged me to go to the police, but I couldn't. I wasn't just scared of what Nexport could do. I was scared of what they'd already done. To my name, my career, my truth. I spent 3 nights in silence, watching my name burn online. The world had already decided who I was. A liar, a thief, a disgraced employee. But deep down, I knew I still had one card left to play. Daniel's backup envelope. Inside was the unedited audit log, timestamps, internal messages, deleted HR threads. Proof that Nexport had been covering up employee retaliation for years. I realized then I could stay silent and survive, or speak again and end this for good. This time, I didn't hesitate. I called a reporter from one of the few outlets that hadn't smeared me. I sent her everything, the files, the messages, the truth. When she picked up, her voice was calm but trembling. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. I looked at the documents one last time. "I'm already ruined," I said. "Let's make it mean something." For the first time in months, my voice didn't shake. By sunrise, the story broke. Tech giant caught in retaliation scandal. My inbox flooded again, but this time with messages that started with, "Thank you." Former employees came forward. Anonymous staff leaked more proof. The dominoes started to fall. Mark was placed on temporary leave. Lena resigned for personal reasons. It was all happening fast. Too fast to feel real. But for once, I wasn't scared. I was awake. 2 months later, I was standing in front of Congress. The cameras, the microphones, the lights, all pointed at me. They asked if I feared retaliation. I said, it already happened. They asked what I hoped to achieve. I said, change, even if it starts with pain. As I spoke, I saw Mark being led out of a side door in handcuffs. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers quietly but finally through the truth. Months later, I walked past the Nexport building for the first time since it all began. The logo was gone. The glass windows were empty. I stopped and looked at my reflection. Older, thinner, but unbroken. The company tried to erase me. Instead, I erased their illusion. The cost was everything I had. My career, my peace, my anonymity. But I'd do it again, because in a world built on silence, the truth is the only thing loud enough to last.